Hey there, welcome to this podcast, Modern Parables. In today's episode, we will be looking at a particular subject, wealth and poverty in the modern age. I know many of us have wondered, why is it that some people seem to be set up for life since they're born, while others seem to be set up for a life of misery and pain? Why does this happen? Is it the result of bad decisions? Is it the result of divine judgment? Today, we will be looking at what insight the Bible can give us based on Luke 16, verses 19 to 31. Pay close attention to the details because this parable, takes a drastic turn of events. Welcome back, guys, to the podcast, Wealth and Poverty in the Digital Age. With me, I have a wealthy and a very popular, what are you, TikToker?
Yep.
Yeah, very famous, world known, and we're going to get to know a little bit more about him. So, thank you for joining us today. You've built one of the most successful social media platforms in the world, and many see you as the face of modern tech wealth. Let's start with that. How does it feel to know that you've created something that influences millions of lives every day? In this case, well, you've created TikTok. How do you feel about that?
It feels good. It comes with a lot of benefits. I like to emphasize on the money. You come from a part where you have to work hard for what you get, and I guess I'm experiencing the fruits of my labor every single day.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Some people say that you've made it easier for some to succeed. It's also contributed to a widening wealth gap, between the poor and the rich. Many creators on your platform are, they're starting to struggle, and while you and a small group of top influencers earn a fortune, how do you respond to that?
That's a great question. The world is always about competition, whether we like it or not. And whenever there's competition, there's always going to be a gap. Now, I'm only one person, and my responsibility is not to close the gap, but my responsibility is to provide opportunity for people to be on top.
Okay, fair enough. But let's talk about those who aren't succeeding, the ones who might be left behind. For example, many of your users are low income or they're actually unemployed. They spend hours on your platform but don't see any financial benefit from it. Meanwhile, they're generating data that helps drive your advertising revenue. Do you feel any responsibility towards these users?
No. It's a free app. You don't have to pay to be there. And I feel like I've made life easier already by making it free.
I don't want to touch on something more personal, but there's a growing concern about how disconnected the wealthy tech elite have become from everyday people. You probably heard the criticism that the rich live in their bubbles, unaware of the struggles of the ordinary people. When was the last time you actually personally interacted with someone who wasn't part of your category or of the tech world?
I'd like to drive a little bit away from that question and respond to critics. When you're at the top, there's always going to be people criticizing you, whether you like it or not. It's not always going to be as pretty as everybody makes it seem. Now, who I interact with, I'd like to keep that personal. But again, I'd like to emphasize on the fact that when you're on top, criticism is normal.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting perspective. But let's consider this. There are people right outside your office right now, perhaps even living on the streets, who might have been on your platform at some point. They're struggling to survive, to make a living, to make it out there, while you're enjoying incredible luxury. Do you ever think about these people? Do you feel a moral obligation to address the systemic issues that create such extreme inequality?
Not really. Because I worked for what I have, and I believe that everybody should do the same.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I just have one last question. Do you ever wonder what history will say about the wealth you've accumulated, the impact that you've had on society? Do you think future generations will see you as someone who changed the world for better or for worse? What do you think about that?
I think that I'll be seen as somebody that changed the world for the better. Of course, now I didn't solve every single problem. I'm only one person, but I definitely tackled an issue for the better and made lives easier on the social media platform.
Well, I understand. Thank you so much for your time. It's clear that you've built something remarkable, no doubt about it. But it's also clear that there's a lot of complexity in the world of wealth and responsibility. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. You guys have heard the part of the entrepreneur, the creator of TikTok, a figure of success in the digital age, a person who sees the world from a different vantage point, one of privilege. But now, let's hear of someone on the other side of the spectrum. He doesn't own a company, he doesn't have a social media empire, but he has a story that deserves to be heard. So, um, let's let's start with you. Thank you for speaking with us, Lazarus. Right?
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Um, you say that you spend your days on the streets, outside of the corporate skyscrapers. In fact, out of Raymond's enterprise and empire.
Yeah,
This he's as you've seen, he's disconnected from the outside world, but you're deeply connected with the world of survival.
yeah,
So thank you.
of course.
Um, just want to know something to get to know a little more to get to know you a little bit better.
Hmm.
What led you to the situation in which you're living right now?
So, a few years back, I used to work construction, and it was my means of survival. But I had a very terrible injury, and that was the start of the downfall of everything, and lost my job. And here I am now on the streets, just trying to survive, really. Yeah,
That sounds incredibly difficult, man. I'm sorry to hear that. With so many people passing by, especially in a city filled with wealthy individuals and big businesses, um, what is it like being so close to such wealth, but feeling like it's unreachable? How do you feel about that?
it's extremely tough. It's really really tough because you feel like you're disconnected from everything. You just feel like you're there, but you're not there. You get what I'm saying? It's like you don't even exist. You see people walking with suits and ties, driving very expensive cars, very expensive clothes, shoes, and you're just there, just scraping to survive, and your clothes are barely holding on by a string. And you just always want the least of things, but I guess it's a hard thing to explain, but it's very tough.
Okay.
It's very tough.
Um, have you ever tried to reach out to anyone for help? Have you felt that anyone is willing to listen?
Every day I persist. Every day I'm at the door of big corporations, multimillionaire corporations, just knocking, begging for just at least bread or something to eat that day. And I even go to rich influencers' house, hoping that they'll see me, walk past me, notice me. It's always the same thing.
Talking about influencers, have you ever stopped by the enterprise of Mr. Raymond, the influencer? How has he treated you? Has he taken you into account? Has he shared anything with you?
Um, I guess he's the person that I do go to a lot, but it's like I don't exist to him. I've done it multiple times, but I guess it just seems like I'm just a shadow. you know, don't exist
But you persist, you press on.
every day.
That's an incredible story. I know it must be incredibly isolating how you describe it. Um, do you ever feel like anger, resentment, maybe injustice in this life? Um, maybe you've wanted an opportunity, but you just haven't had it, and those who have the opportunities seem like they don't use them to help others. How do you feel about that? Do you feel frustrated with life because of that?
I wouldn't say that I feel angry or any resentment. It's more of I feel sadness and some level of frustration because I just want I don't even want expensive cars. I don't even want a mansion. I don't want anything like that. I just want at least something, a way to provide for myself to go on every day because I'm at the brink of losing my life from starvation and I just want the least of things. Just a regular life.
Yeah, it looks like you want hope in your life, grasping on for hope. That's a tough one. Every
Yeah.
day the same's out here, and but I don't know. Do you, I don't know if people understand you. It's very easy for people to stand on one side of the wall and see your story, but actually being in your shoes and experiencing what you're going through, it's not easy. Um, just wanna let you know that we invited you to this podcast because you're not forgotten.
Thank you so
We,
much.
we've noticed you. Um, you've searched so much. You've given us an insight to your life, to the struggle for survival in life, and I think people listening will feel differently about the people they pass by on the street. So you're helping others with what you're doing, and after hearing your story, before we end, is there anything you want to say those living in lives of privilege, the ones who might never have looked your way?
What I can say to those people is, I guess we exist too, you know, just helping someone with $1 or just simply giving me bread if you're skeptical of what I'll do with the money. Just bread, some food. We exist, and I don't ask for much, you know. Helping a person out doesn't really hurt. I believe it can't really hurt them because I believe they have much to spare. Yeah, it's really
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
all.
It was a pleasure knowing you, and
No, it was a
I hope
pleasure.
that this this interview will expose your reality to the world, and hopefully things change soon.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Nope, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine.
Hey man, so you're Raymond, right?
Yeah.
Weren't you that owner of the TikTok company that was worldwide famous for some years? But what's going on? I remember the last time we met, you were pretty well dressed, and what happened?
Um, you know, not everything was meant to succeed. Some things have to come to an end.
Yeah, well, it looks like this economic recession has hit you hard, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, you sound more calm than last time. Last time you were kind of energetic and I don't know, you were kind of bold. What happened? What's going on?
I, I, I think I'm still the same person. Uh, I, I don't think the money has anything to do with my character. But yeah.
I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Well, um, it looks like the recession hit you hard, but I guess it's part of life cycle, no?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Fortunately, um, do you know anything about the guy that would always be at your door of your enterprise? Lazarus was his name. Do you know anything about that person?
I've heard a thing or two about him. He's doing pretty good.
Really? Can you tell me a little bit more about him?
Uh, he's he's the headline now, his own company, and a lot of money, and definitely in a better position than he was before.
I guess life has its up and downs and abrupt changes, right? Is there anything you would like to share for those people that maybe have wealth right now, an opportunity like you once did, and you would like to share with them?
I do actually have something. And when you're at the top, you need to remember that your riches and your wealth don't define you as a person, and that you're the same as everybody else. So make sure that you treat the people around you with respect, because one day they might be above you, or they might have something that you need. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Raymond, and I guess we'll be seeing each other.
Yep, for sure.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Hey, Lazarus, right?
Yeah,
Lazarus.
This week.
I've heard so much about you, man. You're all over the social media.
Yeah.
And as far as I recall from last time, you're doing more than surviving, man. You're making it out.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, the market crashed. It opened up a lot of opportunities for me. When I was at a low level in society, there was no doors for me to walk through to even reach out to an opportunity of getting anywhere. But in that moment, so many opportunities opened up, and I took advantage of that, and I'm doing pretty well. My talents are working, and I'm using it for helping people.
I like your humbleness, man. You don't dress extravagantly, and
Yeah,
you're still the same person. Money hasn't changed you.
I choose not to change. I choose not to waste too much money on extremely expensive things and cars and stuff. I still try to live a simple life, and even the money that I make for my company, I use it to at least help those that are not as benefiting.
Wow, that's very admirable and honorable of your part. And is there anything you'd like to share with our viewers? Anything?
Yeah, what I can
encourage them?
share is don't let money and wealth dictate your life or control your life. And even when you have it, think of it as God's blessing to you, and use it to help others. And through it, God will bless you even more.
All right, well, thank you so much. I mean, it's amazing to see that you're doing better now,
Thank
and
you.
that you're actually using your talents and your wealth to help others grow. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
As Herodotus once said, the only constant in life is change. Interestingly, in this parable, change is something that did happen. Everything flipped. And this flip concept is very customary in the Gospel of Luke, or it could also be known as the theology of reversal. What does that mean? Well, throughout the Gospel of Luke, we see something interesting that happens. The exalted are humbled, and the humbled are exalted. As we saw in this interview, Lazarus was exalted with a life of suffering and scraping for the crumbs of the rich man. He was finally exalted, and the rich man who had it all, who lived extravagantly, was humbled. This particular parable was directed to a group of people who had placed money and the desire of wealth and power at the center of their heart as their God. That's why in the previous verses to the parable, Jesus himself says that no man can serve two masters. No one can serve God and serve the God of money at the same time. You either choose one and lose the other, or you choose the other and lose the one. So, I'd like to ask you the question: who's the center of your heart? Is it wealth, the desire for power and money? Or is God living in your heart as a center and the driving force of your life? What practical implications does this parable have for us, for you, for me, and for the society in which we live in? Well, for those who are exalted, those who have power and wealth, Make good use of your opportunities, not to exalt yourself, but to also help and exalt others around you. Be humble. What about for those humble? Those that are barely making it out to survive? Well, just as Lazarus did until the day of his death, persist. Persist in the hope that God will do justice. We don't know how, we don't know when, but it's not for us to decide the whens and the hows of the coming of God's justice. Our job is to persist fervently and without giving up. So, will you persist? Will you be humble to be exalted? Or will you be exalted to be humble? Think about that. Blessings.